Welcome everybody to the HolloTalk podcast. This is Jetpack Nick, and I have a special guest with me today, my homegirl Niayla. Say what's up to the people.
Hi, loves.
So Niayla is going to be representing the law student section of the college series that we've been doing on the HolloTalk podcast. You know, we've had professors on here, we've had, just former peers of mine, students, and even myself talking about my college experience. So, just we got to talk about the law student section of it. So hopefully you can represent well for them, right?
Yeah, don't go. Don't go. But
All right.
specifically, asterisk for the Black women in law, because it's only 5% of us nationwide in the field. So,
wow, 5%?
Yeah, and less than our partners at law firms. So, like when you see the names on the big old plaques outside the law firms, less than 1% of those are usually Black women.
Jeez, Christ. Well, okay, so just to kind of dive into it a little bit, do you know why that's the reason, or?
I think it's the same reason, I guess, that a lot of people don't pursue a bachelor's of science or arts and etc. It's expensive as hell, and it's not kind. It's really not a kind environment for diversity. I know law firms do, and maybe the legal field in general has diversity and inclusion methods, but they're not typically run from people who are diverse or from inclusive backgrounds. So it's kind of like the pot teaching the kettle, and they're both Black, but no pun intended. But or more so like the blind leading the blind. Like
right.
Not a lot of room for us to squeeze in because the resources are so limited.
So the resources being limited is just specific to Black people in general, or that's just a law school thing across the board?
I would say it's a law school thing across the board. Like diversity in general, the resources are very limited, but as you narrow down as to like the intersexuality of identities, it's very few for Black women. The community is great amongst us, but it's only like 15 of us, so.
Right. And that was like a point I was thinking about too, because even though it's still college, it's like a different kind of world for like a regular college student who's just going to school for communications or business or whatever, other major it is. But medical and law is completely different things.
Those are the roads you take when you just want to keep punishing yourself academically, when you're like, it just wasn't enough. No, yeah, I would the next tier, you have your bachelor's, you have your master's, and then I would say we're on par with the level of work that's required to obtain a PhD. Med students have it worse than us in terms of time because they have to do residency and then they just don't do schooling. But I would say law school, in terms of time, may be more generous. It's more rigorous because we have so little time to prove we're capable.
Okay. And just to be clear, are you doing criminal law?
No, a lot of people ask me that by default, and I always feel really guilty because I feel like by default I should want to fight the power, fight the system. But when you've been in the field as long as me, you see it a bit differently, especially when you're Philly born and raised, because you're I know people who've had issues with law, and I know that these time sentences are egregious and they make no sense, and they're a lot kinder to worse crimes. I hate sex crimes. Sex crime. So okay, probation, don't do it again. Okay, you're a good person, don't do rape again. But get caught with weed, 15, go. We can't stand you. So I just don't like the idea of profiting off the criminal justice system, or more so just the legal system in law, because there's not really much justice that's done. Every lawyer has to do pro bono hours, so free legal services.
Right.
I have no issue doing free criminal legal services in the future. I just don't want to make money off something I can't go home and sit on my couch and morally sit with.
Yeah. So what kind of law are you studying?
So law school, you don't necessarily study a specific
law. Okay.
You all have to pass the bar, and the bar encompasses every part of the major, I guess, sphere of law: family, criminal, civil, property, things like that. You can concentrate. I didn't see the point because it was I need to know everything anyways.
Right.
But a lot of my work experience have been in civil disputes. So I've done medical malpractice work on the defense side, which was an interesting thing because naturally you're like, I hate the healthcare system. Forget doctors. They suck. Just give them the money. And then you get on the defense side and it's like nobody disputes that. Like, yeah, here's a settlement. We're sorry. This doctor absolutely does suck and we do represent him. But like,
Right.
I'm a firm believer that there's justice in getting money sometimes. And especially in this system, like that we live in this society, like money can do a lot for when
Yeah.
you're wronged, as opposed to like putting somebody away for a long time. Because like, how does that fix the harm that's done a lot of times? And it doesn't. I mean, yeah, they're off the street, but like, if you're horribly scarred physically and mentally, who's paying for that? Not the state. You need to sue.
And you know, a lump sum of money, that always seems like a good out to me.
Yeah, think about it. You get fired at your job because your supervisor is racially discriminatory.
Yeah.
You want to check because you can't work there, but you can't pay bills without money.
Right.
So yeah.
So okay, so like would that be the first course of action? Like just at least in your mind, like I'm not sure if it's like the same across, you know, all lawyers and the way that they think about cases, but would going for the money be your first thing always, or is it something different?
It's always a matter of, is there an actual claim here, is how they usually teach us in classes. Like, is there a claim here? Like, do you actually have a case? Because the worst thing I think a lot of people could do, and I've seen in my ethics classes, is selling somebody a dream that doesn't exist. Because there's nothing worse than having to pay a lawyer with money that you didn't win.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough, you know, especially like just in the entirety of it, you know, money rules everything, you know,
Yeah.
but when it comes to that, you gotta, you know, pay a good amount of money to get a good lawyer. And
Yeah, and they're not cheap. And me before law school would have been like, free legal services should be a norm. Me while in law school, I also have to make a living. I also
right.
have loans
It's
myself.
expensive.
Yeah.
Mm. I see. I couldn't even, like, just me being like a former college student. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure my loans is like this compared to yours.
Well, no, I think I'm on the better side of what could be like financial aid for law school. I didn't pay for undergrad. I thought I guess I was smart. Yeah.
First of all, that.
I'm smart. And I don't pay any of my tuition at my law school because I was a mock trial competitor in undergrad. So I won a trial team scholarship and I do compete still. So I don't pay for tuition. And tuition could easily be like at the end of the 3 years, $150,000. So
God,
mine are as small as somebody who would have gone to undergrad because I'm just trying to pay for living expenses because I can't really work with my like course load.
yeah, I wouldn't think you could. I mean, I'm pretty sure some people do it, and salute to them people. I don't know how the hell you doing it. It was hard to work just and going to regular college, let
Yeah.
alone law school. So shouts out to them people. But you know, do you find time for yourself to kind of just fall back a little bit, or is the schedule so rigorous that you don't even have time to decompress?
Sometimes I wonder if I don't have time because the pandemic has upped my workload, or if this is just how law school is kind of supposed to be. And there's not necessarily an answer because this new age of students are like the first pandemic classes.
Right.
So it's not sure, like, do we have more time because we're technically at home, but we're not at home because we're in person? But like activities are like limited because of the pandemic. I wouldn't say so. I think it was a prerogative academically that it like you think, and I think this is something that just happens education wise from like K to 8 and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
If you have more time at home, you have more time to do work. And I think law school operates on that same theory, but it's already enough work as is. So I don't understand.
That's because them people are cruel. They're cruel people.
It's definitely a hazing process. So I don't know if I would have had more time out if there wasn't a pandemic. Probably. I try my best to step back, but it's not like I'm afforded the opportunity to do often if I want to do as well as I'm doing right now as a scholarship student. So no.
No, and the reason I ask that is because like I know for me, right, like I majored in business administration and I got my my bachelor's in business administration, but I also was on the accelerator program.
Yeah.
So I finished in 2.5 years, I
Oh, that's
believe.
dope.
Yeah, I think I finished about 2.5 years. So I was like always working. Like I was in the computer lab at 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning, just working on my work, kind of knocking stuff out as fast as I could, going further in the weeks and knocking that work out so that way I could
Yeah.
just chill. But I always prioritize trying to find time for myself, trying to find
Yeah.
time to decompress because once I got to college, like I never really experienced like anxiety or anything like that before going to college. But then once I got to college, being around a bunch of people I didn't know for the first time, while also being away from home too, I think that's key to also point out too. It created a lot of social anxiety for me, even though I'm a social person, as you
No,
can see.
I completely agree because I feel like I had like this very interesting talk with one of my law school friends, and she's like, I think I have anxiety. And I literally looked her dead in her face, and I meant to not be as dismissive as it was and was like, everybody has
Right,
anxiety. And she was like, what? And I was like, I don't mean to say that your anxiety is not as important as the next, but I'm saying like it does that to you, and that's normal. So you recognizing it now, I mean, it's helpful, but like it's here to stay now. Like this is your new buddy. This is your new roommate anxiety. Okay. And I was like the complete opposite in college. Like I didn't have any anxiety. I hit 2020 pandemic and like had the worst study abroad of my life and had to go to law school in a pandemic. And I'm like the most introverted, extroverted law student ever. Like this is not who I imagined I would have been in law school. Like I was like, yeah, I'm a go-getter. I don't care about talking to people. I can do this, can do that. I'm only like that in a courtroom because outside of it, a lot of people think like I'm unapproachable because I'm quiet because I just don't want to interact anymore. I'm just
right.
anxious enough to interact. I hate networking events, even though I've done successfully at them. But like in my mind, I kind of think of it as like, okay, if I don't have to interact for necessity, I won't do it anymore.
Listen, I am completely understanding of that, but I don't know. Like for me, I don't mind talking to people. Like, of course, I could just go and isolate and be by myself and just chill and not really feel no type way about being around people because some people can't be by themselves. I
Right.
don't know what the reason is. I don't want to begin to even try to figure out what that is, right?
Sounds like
but
a therapy.
but like for me, I'm cool by myself. But eventually, you want to be around some people, you want to talk to people or whatever, and just enjoy being in people's company, whether that's talking to them on the phone, FaceTime, text message, or actually being face to face with them. I think that propels you to learn more about yourself. You can't just be isolated and just learn about yourself. And just talking about college specifically, that was like one of the lessons I really had to learn, which is I can't be in my room 24/7. I can't go to class into my room in the cafeteria. I gotta talk to people, interact with people, and the more I did that, the more comfortable I felt moving along my college career and being able to easily find my place.
Yeah, I was it's interesting that you say that because I think law school does the opposite. I think a
Really.
lot of people come in ready to like be go-getters and be social, but we find that a lot of our time is spent talking to people that we never understand what silence is anymore.
Hmm.
So I found out that I discovered more of myself being by myself and just like just doing good self-analysis, like writing down pros and cons of like what's going on in life right now, as opposed to like constantly with people. Especially when the pandemic hit, it was kind of just like it's not safe to be around people anyways. So I
Yeah.
I have a really good excuse to be like in my room trying to self-analyze. So I think it does that to a lot of people. Like I've seen so many of us, including myself, come in like social butterflies. And now we're
Hmm.
all just mental health nutcases.
Yeah. College can do that to you. I mean, just like I said, just being around a bunch of different people who you don't know in an unfamiliar environment, that alone creates that social anxiety. Not to mention you interacting with these people, not knowing who you can be around, who you could trust for that matter. Not to say you in like a situation where like you trusting this person versus you not trusting this person. It could be a life or death situation. Like it's not that most of the time anyway. But just just all of that while also being an 18-year-old. Most kids go to college at 18,
Yeah.
and trying to figure everything out. It's too much, and it drives you insane. It drove me to the counseling, so which was the best thing I did in school.
Listen, like that's the thing. I always tell people you don't have there's like nothing has to be wrong with therapy.
Yeah.
Just go to therapy. And I feel like I've been to therapy. I know a lot of people have been to therapy. Miss my therapist, but
I miss my therapist too.
Yeah, like I was like, oh my God, Mondays used to be my favorite day. But no, like as I'm going through like the further end and the tail end of my education, I think it's absurd to tell 18-year-olds to choose what they want to do with their life.
Yeah.
I was a freak of an anomaly who just knew I was going to law school. But that's not the case for everybody.
Not at all.
And that should just be normal. But it's just structured in a way where it's like, no, you need to figure it out. You need to take on all this debt, and you need to like suffer from all this debt from a decision you made at 18, an age where you can't even like drink.
Yeah.
I mean, according to
you can, just don't get caught.
Yeah, but according to case law, I guess you can sign a contract, but there are a lot of legal things you can't do at 18 that somebody later on in life can. You can't rent a car, but you can sign on for hundreds of thousands of dollars of loans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to get into the debate whether college is a scam or not. I mean, look, listen. Like I said, I did it. You're doing it. And plenty of other people I here did it.
I just think hard on it.
For sure.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, but that's something that we should promote anyway. Like before you make any, I'll just say any major decision, but realistically, any decision that you make in life, right? You should always think about it before you act on it, because any one decision could have your life go this way or this way. And hopefully you want to go in the right way.
Though it's possible to bounce back from any wrong decision. Sure. It's best to take a moment, take a breath. What's good for you?
Yeah, it's best to, at least think about it and try to make whatever you feel is the right decision, instead of, making a wrong decision and not thinking about it. And now you got to dig yourself out of a hole where you could have just walked around the hole and been cool.
Yeah. And that happens a lot in law school. A lot of people don't continue after like the first semester or the first year because they realize this isn't what they thought it would be. It's not television. It's real.
Okay. What does that mean exactly? Like what is the idea of a law student going into law school?
I think a lot of people have the perception of lawyering and law student or in law schooling from popular media. Everybody loves Law and Order SVU. Everybody loves it. Apparently everybody loves How to Get Away with Murder. I've never seen it.
I've never watched it either.
I hear it's popular. I watched a clip of it, turned that off because I heard many legal issues and my brain was just not ready for it. But Suits or like things like that, like people love, or like those movies like that dramatize being a lawyer. My personal favorite, Legally Blonde, just because it's so absurd. But I only know how absurd it is because I know from the inside in like all the nuances that they're joking about. But everybody else is like, oh my God, Reese Witherspoon, she looks great. Got a confession, yes, permeator, something about chemicals, whatever. I think a lot of people have the idea of like what it is like based on popular media. And it's not like that. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not kind. It's not kind. It's real. These are people's lives, and it's gruesome, and it's ugly, and it's long. A trial can take years.
Yeah.
It can take years. And I think a lot of people are like, well, why isn't that person not in jail? I don't know. He has a lot of money, and he paid for a great lawyer. Okay, but why does he get a lawyer? Because it's in the Constitution. Unfortunately, I guess, but like beneficially if you needed one and you couldn't afford one. So
yeah,
I think a lot of people just think like being a lawyer is a sexy legal drama and like you're saving lives and you're changing the world and you're like helping people secure rights. And it's just like, no. And I don't think my idea of being a lawyer was to ever save the world. I just want to like change individual lives that I've worked with, because who knows? I mean, I could get somebody a nice settlement check and maybe they fix world hunger. I'll probably be sitting on my couch like, oh yeah, I know that guy. It's good for him. Yeah.
No, I ain't gonna lie. So honestly, that's kind of how I feel about the podcast itself. Like not in the same like way, but like just having a conversation with somebody and not knowing how that conversation could drive that person to, be better or
Yeah,
achieve something special. And I'll be like, damn, like, I don't know if they would have did that if we never had that conversation,
Mhm.
like, and just things like that. That's why I'm really, really enjoying this whole process of being a podcaster and having the HolloTalk podcast, because I get a chance and opportunity to not only talk to people that I probably wouldn't have been able to talk to regularly, but also have an influence on their life, possibly a positive influence at that.
No, and it definitely shows, because I've had people reach out to me through like various media forms. They've heard me talk somewhere, and they've seen like a really hilarious TikTok that I've done, or like TikToks that I do are like, let me tell you how to like just pass the friggin' test to get in. And they just reach out and they were like, you don't know how much of an impact that made on me, but I'm in like high school and I want to go to law school. And I'm like, oh, you poor baby. Okay, well,
Yeah, you poor baby.
if you really want to go, there's a resource here who's not going to gatekeep. Feel free to reach out and I'll do what I can.
And that's dope. That's dope that you get to do it in your field of work and me do it in mine. And it can possibly have a similar kind of effect. Two completely different things possibly impacting people for the better in various ways.
Yeah.
So shouts out to us.
Pats on my back, man. Pats on my back. Getting through life.
But I'm interested to know, because being a lawyer, you got people's lives in your hands, right? Basically.
I think that's the general idea. Yeah.
So right, but having to represent these people, right? And based on just based on your performance, more than likely, right? You get to put this person in a position to either get off, or whatever the other side is to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you being in that kind of situation, how does that make you feel, knowing that you have people's lives in your hands?
I hate
No
to
kind
come
of
off,
way.
I hate to come off very anticlimactic, but I don't feel anything. And it's because I've done a lot of work where it's like, I'm not taking this home with me. This isn't my life. It's not my life. It's, we're taught as law students ethically, like our job as future lawyers is to be the best lawyer that somebody could have hired. That is our job. Whether we are the best lawyer, debatable. There's far more legendary lawyers in this world. But whether we are the best lawyer for them is something we can control. And at the end of the day, that's something I plan to do to the best of my ability. But at the end of the day, I don't think of it as like, they may feel like their life is in my hands, but I'm not like the one-stop shop to deciding whatever fate they have. I'm
Right.
like a in it. And if it's not their, desirable outcome, they can just hire another person, or I can just try again. And it's not like a one and done deal. A lot of times with legal decisions, like there's wiggle room sometimes.
Right.
But I don't think much of it, because in my mind it's just like I'm doing the best I can, and I can't like put that weight on me, because like then it's coming home with me, and I have my own life to live outside of
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I just asked that question because at least I don't think you guys are supposed to think that way. Like, I got somebody's life in my hands or whatever, because I guess that blurs the ethical lines, I'm assuming.
No, not necessarily. I mean, your thoughts about like saving somebody's life is not like ethically incorrect. It's just like you might have tunnel vision. You might be doing a disservice by thinking like that. You might be thinking, I need to do this, I need to do this, when there are possibly other possibilities. I feel like that weight is on people a lot stronger for who like are arguing against or for constitutional rights and stuff, or like appeals for people who have been wrongly convicted. That mindset I can completely understand, because like there are people on death row who didn't do anything. Their life is literally in their lawyer's hands.
Yeah.
Literally. That I understand the gravity of that situation, but me doing a property dispute because somebody's fence is too far on the property line, I don't think that's gonna be come on, like I need this, like my life is over if he doesn't move his friggin' fence over by an inch. Like
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, that's definitely understandable for sure.
Yeah.
Like some things is just, it's not even worth carrying that burden on your shoulder.
That's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, like when I did medical malpractice, I felt the gravity a little bit more, but it's not my job to fix whatever happened. I'm doing the best I can to find a proper remedy, and that's what lawyers do. We're the remedy to issues, we can't like, fix everything. If that were the case, we wouldn't have so many legal issues now.
No, for real.
And plus, so many of us are so different. And I feel like people don't understand not every law student is at law school for the right reason.
You care to explain that?
So I guess so. So without like even getting into like specific people, I think the one thing I wasn't prepared for when I got to law school is how strongly everybody's opinions already are. Because I'm on the younger end of the spectrum of people in law school. A lot of people just don't go straight through from undergrad. Right. A lot of people take time off, they work, they have careers. So, they're fully developed brain-wise adult. They've already lived a life. They have an opinion on things. And that's going to how their lawyering is conducted. Can they be disciplined ethically if they make a mistake? Sure. But like, that's a pretty long career already at that point as to whatever they've been doing with that mind process. So everybody has a different way of how they want to be a lawyer. And it doesn't always mean it's always going to be beneficial to the world, but they're going to do the job. So, there are people who want to save the criminal justice system, but have never spoken to a Black person before I sat in their class.
Right.
And it's just like, it's telling because ignorance is not something you can just forego in 3 years after like 20 plus years of living in it. So it's, everybody's there for like what I would deem the right reasons, but just because we've grown up in different lives, that's probably why I see it a bit differently.
Okay. So how do you navigate that though? Like being around people who aren't necessarily from your same kind of background? Like how do you navigate those interactions?
So I think I'm fortunate enough that my undergrad degree has no diversity in it. I study philosophy. It's a bunch of old white men and their old white thought. My philosophy department absolutely adored me. So they were very considerate and like always found Black philosophers and diverse people and like thinkers and stuff to introduce me to. So it was already like, I'm already trained to encounter people who don't think like me.
Right.
Socrates, I don't know. I'll give the man credit. I like his
thing. You can give Socrates a little bit of credit. I like Socrates' process.
I could say like Immanuel Kant, the German philosophers, the philosophers of Nazi time. They clearly don't think anything like me. Yeah. And I clearly don't think anything like them. But it's just the fact that I understand where their thought is coming from. And that's kind of how I approach law school, because there are some people who truly don't see the issue with racial discrimination in law school. Truly, without a doubt, because they don't have to live that life. So it has no bearing on them. I clearly have an opinion about it.
Right.
I live it. I'm experiencing it by sitting next to somebody who sees no issue with it. So what do I do at the end of the day? I don't try to educate brick walls. It's not my job. I don't believe it's Black people's job to educate people who choose to be ignorant and want to be ignorant. It's a waste of breath. We already have enough burdens on ourselves. We built I don't want to curse, but
I got you. You can.
We built the country. So I just feel like it's a wasted effort at times. It's an unnecessary labor. And it's not one I plan to undertake. If I was a professor, maybe, but I'm a student. I shouldn't have to tell somebody who's 32 and who's lived, a decade more years longer than me what I think about racial discrimination. Google is a free and accessible resource to everybody. They can use it if they care, the same way that I would use it if I cared about something, So that's kind of how I approach it. I just don't want to say I don't care. I just don't pay mind to it, because at the end of the day, it does nothing for me to stress myself out about a majority opinion in this community. So
yeah, and to be honest, like for me, and I've said this on the pod on a few occasions, especially with the college talks. Like I went to school in central Pennsylvania, so when I first got up to school, it was 2016. So Trump signs everywhere. It was Trump signs everywhere. So coming into it, it's like, okay, like I'm coming from Philadelphia. It's predominantly Black situation. Go out to central Pennsylvania, it's nothing but white people, and they have Trump signs. And at the time, it was very volatile, like at that particular time. So you really didn't know what to expect. And on top of that, like there were situations where some some situations happen. I don't really want to go into too much detail about that,
Yeah.
but it was some situations that happened pertaining to, racial discrimination. And, at least for me, I've experienced it. I've been called the N-word on campus. Like, it's been said around,
Yeah.
the campus from white students and, other people. But yeah, I just tried to navigate it as best as I could. Like, I really kind of just kept to my circle, kept in my group. Make sure that whenever we travel, we travel together. We never travel solo at
Right.
all. Like we had this hill that we walk up. We walk up the hill. It was a house. Had the flags out there, and like, this shit is 100 feet away from the campus. Like, how am I supposed to feel comfortable as a Black student? I guess it was what it was. We made it out. We survived it, and we made the best of it that we could.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to say it's more beneficial, but I like to look at it as a pro as opposed to it's still a con. I grew up in Roxborough, Philadelphia, so predominantly white neighborhood, and I come from a interracial couple. My dad was white, my mom's Black. So being in that situation, I already experienced a brunt of blatant racism in my life, like being egged, have my house egged because I'm half Black.
Yeah.
And I kind of was just like, and you lost, you think you got anything on, like, please.
Yeah.
So I get it. It sucks, but it's also kind of like, think about it in the grander scheme. This is just how this country works.
This world. And
yeah, really,
honestly,
in general. And I've become bolder in spaces where that are predominantly white, especially because people think I'm racially ambiguous a lot of times.
mm-hmm.
So say whatever. And I'm like, joke's on you. Here we go. I have some opinions. But I think that comes from the fact that I'm confident in the fact that, like, when you have a JD, and I'm almost at a JD, people want to listen to you. And I'm on the same level as other people who have a JD at that point. So it's like, whatever you got, I got. Like, your paycheck, my paycheck. What do you want to like?
No, yeah. I mean, listen, money talks, bullshit walks. So you feel me?
Oh, that's clever. I'm gonna take.
You could borrow this as long as you give my credit.
Yeah, he said that. All right.
No, but to kind of go back to what you said, like about you being half Black and half white, does that dynamic present different challenges than somebody who's just strictly Black, or is it, if you look Black, they classify everybody as the same?
Obviously, it's a privilege to be a biracial woman who's more aesthetically pleasing by society standards.
That's a way to put it.
Yeah, obviously, it's a privilege. I never had the identity crisis when I was young. I feel like a lot of other biracial kids have, because both my parents were in agreement that I'm Black. So I didn't experience that identity thing until other people started asking me about it, because I didn't come from a house that made a big deal out of it.
Right.
I was very confused why everybody else outside the door was. It was just like, what does that mean? I'm just yellow, y'all. Like, there's a yellow one over there. No. That being said, I think because of that privilege, yes, I do have the access to more doors, but only until I reveal my identity. Because it's one thing to navigate white passing spaces. I'm not white passing, but like, I'm aesthetically pleasing racial wise. It's one thing to navigate those spaces ambiguously because nobody feels like they can offend you. And it's another thing to actively claim your identity and let people let it be known that I'm not passive. I'm Black. That's how I identify. I'm a biracial Black woman.
Right.
My tagline, because race is such a big deal in this country, and there's a privilege in being biracial. I'm not going to discount that. I acknowledge that I have that privilege and it's open
right.
for me. But with that being said, then it's like, well, she's no different. If she's going to be actively fighting for Black issues and stuff, like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? It's just the same as like a liberal white woman in the law. Hey, I don't stand for that racism. They're gonna outcast her.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's perfectly fine by me, because it hasn't stopped me employment-wise. I've been able to do what I want them to do, and I'm doing really well. I see no disadvantage. And maybe I would have thought differently if it would benefit me more to be quiet, but I just don't see the point. Like I'm already benefiting by looking the way I look. I might
Right.
as well use that benefit to actively fight for the fact that I identify with my community. And I would not want somebody to speak to my mom who's dark skinned in any type of shape or way or form. That's wild.
Yeah, shouts out to mom. That's my homie right there.
Nut. She comes in, I'm
No,
gonna let her know.
no, that's my homie, man. But no, but to kind of go to that point, right? Like, is that something that's like innately important to you, like when you walk in these spaces, or just going through life in general, just being proud of being Black,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, is that's something that's important to you to allow people to know that you are proud to be Black.
Yeah, because it's like, and I feel like it differs when you reach interracial children communities. Like everybody has a different upbringing, and mine
Right.
is very like black and white, no pun intended, but very clear until other people added gray spots. And I was like, okay, yeah, like I can see that, see where you're coming from. It's important to me because it's like, why would I try to hide my mom? My,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, you're going to see them at events. I'm going to bring her. She loves finger food. So like,
Me too.
no, she loves that stuff. Like, no, you got some snacks instead. Chips.
I mean, that's finger food technically.
Yeah, but they're not serving those. Not even French fries, but whatever. No, they served French fries once on request of me, and everybody's like, "Hey, requested this," and I'm like, um. But that being said, it's like I want it to be known because it's like you're going to see my Black family. You're gonna see them. They're gonna be here. I have no shame in their game. They carry themselves fine. Okay, a lot better than some people's families at events.
Yeah.
So it's like, why wouldn't I just tell you, oh yeah, I'm Black? Because like you're gonna see my family and be like, well, why didn't she tell us? Because people make assumptions when you're biracial too. Like, is she ashamed? And like, why didn't she say anything? And it's like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, here
Right.
she is. That's her. That's my brother. That's my sister. My grandma's probably gonna pull up a little bit later. So it's important for me because it's like, one, I want to open a door and be like, don't say anything that you wouldn't say otherwise. And if you do, I mean, be bold. Stand on all 10 toes what you're about to say. Discrimination suit. But I think it's just important because I have no reason to hide where I came from. And I just feel like it's shameful to do that. Like I wouldn't be in law school if her Black self did not push me out. So
Right. Listen, I mean, and you know, to even kind of go back to that, you know, where we was talking about, you know, just being a lawyer itself and being around, you know, a bunch of non-Black people, whites, you know, and just having that interaction, and you know, being in that kind of environment, just being that everyone's strong-willed. Everybody's a lawyer, so, or aspiring to be a lawyer, so everybody has to have a big opinion, like you had made reference to earlier. On not only that, people are not familiar with Black people. You said it's only about 5% of Black women in
yeah,
and was it law school or just lawyers in general?
lawyers in general.
Five.
Yeah.
Damn. God damn.
Yeah.
That's a
They passed
small
the
small
bar, they
number.
got their JD. I mean, still a very small amount, even with like the HBCU law schools, it's crazy.
Yeah, and you know, so like just being in that kind of environment, like I'm pretty sure it takes a toll to some degree. Because like I said, for me, just being around a bunch of white people in Central Pennsylvania as a business student, you know, I felt the effects of that. So
Yeah,
you know,
it can be very taxing. I'll
yeah,
say that.
that combination is crazy.
Yeah, it's very taxing. And it's not something I say like, oh, I just let it roll off my back and just, don't knock the chip off my shoulder.
Yeah,
I it's taxing, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like I chose to be in this space for various different reasons. And somebody seeing me one day in this space may bring comfort to them because you're not alone. I mean, like I said, law school is like a hazing process, and being a lawyer is too. I think just being Black in America is a hazing process.
listen.
I've been feeling the effects on a bit of a smaller scale. So yeah, I can say it sucked. I think I took it more personally in undergrad than I do now because it was just like, how could you? like kind of thing. But then as you just grow older, you're like, okay, I don't know what like being ignorant and racist, what benefit that brings to your life, but okay, like I'm not gonna marry into your family. Maybe
Right.
on revenge purposes, who knows? But who knows? Maybe just real quick, but just do a quick divorce, whatever.
Diabolical.
Yeah, yeah. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I feel like I've seen it take a larger toll in some of my Black women friends in law school because like I have a friend, she went to an HBCU and like, it sucks for going from HBCU to like a predominantly white institution.
Right.
And I know I just always tell her like at the end of the day, their opinion it doesn't matter. Like it's always gonna be this way and it sucks to like rectify with that, but and that this is the norm, but and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, but you can't let that like be on you.
Yeah. So let me ask this question because I'm just curious to know just the thought process behind it, or what your thought process is on this question. But is the fact that you are experiencing a continued level of success even through all of these trials and tribulations, does that make it easier to deal with it?
I
That
can
makes it
say
easier.
I wonder if I was like failing right now, would I feel the same way? Probably not. But the fact that I'm doing just as well as the next person and there's really no discrepancy, if not better, kind of makes it better because it's like in a way I'm in a way I'm working with a handicap stack, but it's like I'm still running the damn race.
Right. Yeah, that's just an interesting thought process because I just think about a lot of people who are in different fields of work or whatever, and you experience discrimination in everything in everyday life. But some people are discriminated to a point where they can't go any further than the discrimination allows them to, right? And then some people
Call a lawyer.
no,
Call a
no,
lawyer.
right. Which is why which is why you here, to kind of talk about all of that. But just talking about that specifically, I I I can't really speak to people feeling this way or not feeling this way by the level of success that they're at, because not to say that it's right even if you're successful, but some people be like, I mean, I'm still, I'm still good, like I don't really care about what's going on, and then they lose sight of the actual fight that's happening only
Yeah.
because, they're successful out of a million other people who are facing the same things.
Yeah, the crab in the barrel. It's like I already made it out. We're doing just fine if I made it out. And I hate that. I hate it. And that's why I have a lot of pre-law mentees who I help with their application processes. And they're like, wow, I didn't even know about that. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, because your pre-law advisor probably sucks. But no offense to them, they're probably amazing. They're probably amazing. They're probably amazing. But it's like there's no need to gatekeep. You being in this field does not knock me out of a job. It literally doesn't. But you being in this field gives me probably an amazing co-work friendship that like in the future, like you work at my firm and I see you and you see me and we're getting lunch, that's going to boost my morale and I'm going to win more cases probably. So yeah, I get what you're talking about. I'm obviously in a very privileged, beneficial position being in law school, having the means to afford it, even though I'm on scholarship, just to say it's not coming out of pocket. I don't come from family with money, okay? I come from other workers, pet boys, okay? Go there if you need car help. But that being said, I'm still fortunate enough to be in a position that I am, and I'm more successful than a lot of people at this stage, and that's why I don't let things phase me. But on the flip side, there's no reason why I can't help somebody else do the same thing. Like, just one crab is not enough, okay? That's just truly not enough.
It's a whole
Knock the
ocean.
barrel over. Knock the barrel over. Stop grabbing at each other, okay? And, just reach out. Like, people are more than willing to help, usually in law school, too.
Yeah, and I could kind of attest to just the whole getting help in college day, because like I said, this was one thing that I like for sure seeked out. Like before I did anything, I seeked out who I could find to help me navigate this arena of college.
Yeah.
Right. And people helped me. Like I had a really, really good team. I had a really good team of people who helped me, and allowed me the space and opportunity to grow and become all that I needed to become to finish in 2.5 years.
Yeah, literally. And that says a lot about you, because there are accelerated programs in law school. I love my summers. I'm not doing that, but I'll take my time as long as I can enjoy my summers.
Oh yeah, I mean it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't.
It's that bad for for the accelerated. They don't get summers, but they're graduating early. But no, it definitely it says a lot. Once you just find your core group of people, it definitely does help. And if you can't find a core group of people, be your own cheerleader. You don't need people to clap for you.
That's a fact. Yeah, that is
Validation
100% fact.
It truly gets you nowhere. People telling you you're doing a good job is nice, but like, you can bake yourself the cookies. Don't ask for cookies.
All right, I'm gonna steal that. See, you stole one of mine. I gotta steal.
I'm gonna put it on Twitter. I'm gonna beat you too.
Oh God. All right, so let's go back to the lawyer thing real quick, because I'm just curious to know what this is. So, what is the separator between being a good lawyer versus being a great lawyer?
Okay, well, I have a joke about that, but
Okay.
like, I'll lead with it, and it's not true, but it's I don't know. If anybody knows the law, it's probably funny. Good lawyers know the law. Great lawyers know the judge, which can be like, ooh, wait a minute, what's going on? Absolutely nothing. It just you have a good relationship with the judge. I don't know. I can't say what makes the difference, and I say that because I have yet to become a lawyer. I think I have the capabilities of being a good lawyer.
Absolutely.
But I wonder where it would be the next step to becoming great. And I think you don't hit that point so you're like 60 in your office and you're like, was I good or was I great? And I honestly, I don't think you'll ever know. I think you'll only know based on how people talk about you, on what you've done for them. Like this lawyer was great. Like he got me what I needed, blah, blah, blah. Like, or this lawyer was good. Like he did what he could, you know what I mean? It's going to be like a word of mouth thing. I don't think you'll ever know.
Okay. Because and the reason I asked that is because like it can be like you can see the win and loss record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that was like the barometer of this person's good, this person's great, or if it was like intangible things
like
that
a scale thing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like is like what's the like what makes someone a good lawyer versus a great lawyer, or like, you know, the wins, losses, or the people skills, the word of mouth, like you said, like
I mean, good lawyers are people who understand their clients, obviously. Like you know what they need, you're doing what you're supposed to do. In terms of like a win and loss thing, some losses can be wins.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like
yeah,
even in the
losses,
losses,
you know,
you good or you great or whatever.
yeah, some wins can be losses. It's like, yeah, I helped this guy, but he's gonna hurt the next. But he has, you know, a constitutional obligation to a lawyer. So like you do the job that you get. And it's not, I feel like that's how defense attorneys get bad reps, because it's like they defend the bad guys. To preserve this legal system, somebody has to defend the bad guys. And sometimes you find out the bad guys aren't bad. They just have, you know, less resources to pull up more evidence. So the wins loss thing, I don't know if people still count that yet, unless it's like big cases like client inspector settling a multi-billion-dollar settlement, you know, for like somebody who's really, really, really hurt. That's like the scale of things, I guess, in terms of winnings if you're like a good lawyer. But I think great lawyers just know what their people need and do exactly just that and try their best.
And regardless of winning or losing the case.
I think, yeah, as long as you've tried your best, like wholeheartedly, you were trying to be the best lawyer you could have been for your client, you're a great lawyer. You did what you could. Because a lot of times there's not much you can do.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in the
I
courtroom.
watch those shows, Nick.
I don't watch it. I watch Power, and you know, and you know they got a couple courtroom scenes. I don't know how accurate they are or whatever.
I love Joe Proctor. I do.
All I know is Joe Proctor got everybody off, and now Davis McLean, also known as Method Man, is getting everybody off, and he never lost the case. So. That's all I know about this.
Never lost the case. It's easy when you defend people. You have less of a burden. You just have to say this doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
And people
that's
are like, yeah.
that is all I can tell you about court shows. Well, it's not even a court show, but it just gets
I feel
courtroom.
like it's become one. I've heard about it. I watched it for a little bit, and I saw Joe Proctor, and I was like, ugh.
Oh, you don't like Joe?
We're gonna want a TV lawyer all over again. Commit crazy crimes and go, hey, can you like just get me off?
Joe Proctor was elite.
Was he, or did he just go, you have no evidence?
I mean,
every scene I saw, you don't have any evidence. They had a lot.
that's what they're supposed to say, right?
I mean, yes, but like that can't be it. You need something else. It's easy to say, where's the evidence? And the state literally presents an evidence file that's alphabetized from A to Z. So you can do more.
Yeah, you pull out the evidence. That's cap, Your Honor.
No, yeah, and that was him. And I was like, I hope people don't expect me to be that way, because I'm going to be very frank with you. Like, you did that? Oh, okay.
There's nothing I can do for you.
Let me talk to my supervisor.
Oh God, that's I don't want you to do that.
Oh yeah, you don't want us to flip our legal pad either. We flip a page in our legal pad, it's bad news.
That's bad news. Okay, so take note that if you flip in the notepad, that's bad news.
Yeah, that's just me though. If y'all come to me in the future and I flip my notepad, we gonna work hard.
All right, so I got one more question, and then I'm gonna get you out of here.
Cool.
So what are your goals and your aspirations going forward? Like, do you want to, well, obviously become a lawyer, but do you want to like get into teaching or be a professor at a college, teach law?
One of my classmates was like, Niayla, I can see you teaching a class.
I mean, you could.
I truly wish she would never wish that on me again. Grading papers, yeah, hard pass. No, I guess the next step would be opening a charity. I'm very much so into the idea of providing as much resources for students, especially funding. I see nothing wrong with offering scholarships. If I find a way to like get an endowment, or if I make enough money, knock on wood, please. I deserve rich auntie lifestyle. But yeah, I would want to open a charity once I'm a bit more established in my field. Completely unrelated to law. Just completely unrelated. If you want to go to law school, okay, but like if you really have made a decision to go to college, I would like to have some sort of funding for that, whether it's like $500 for like textbooks, or oh my God, like $10,000. Could you imagine? I would cry right now. Cry. Like, I know it's going to be use, but oh my God. But yeah, because I know scholarships have helped me to get to where I am. I literally wouldn't be here. My family could not afford it, even with loans. So it would mean a lot for me to be like, here.
To be able to help somebody.
Yeah, literally. Like, because it's expensive and the cost of education is going to keep going up and it's going to keep being gate kept. And I don't like that idea at all, especially somebody who went to like a very expensive undergrad.
Yeah. Listen, I told you, I'm just waiting on my man Joe to cancel these student loans.
He already said he's not. I'm done with him. Joseph. I don't even call him Joe anymore.
Joseph. Listen, man.
Joseph. The minute he said it, I was like, "Thanks, Joseph. You can leave now."
I mean, I just, little change of mind ain't never hurt nobody. I just need my man to, sign that paper and push it across the table.
Yeah, he would have been done it. I think we're like 2 years in already. So.
All right, so just real quick. So is law school a thumbs up or thumbs down?
For me or for others?
I mean, just both, I guess.
Okay. For me, I'm gonna say thumbs up. I'm gonna be positive. Okay, and I'm gonna give a middle for others. Like I said earlier, like please think on a decision. It's not something you willy-nilly commit to. And I would hate for anybody to get trapped in an educational route that they are not passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I second that too. And that's just for any major that you go to college for.
Right.
Just take some time to think about what you want to do. And once you figure out, commit to it and go full throttle with it.
Right.
All right. So law school is a thumbs up for you, right? It's a middle thumb for everybody else. Also, we need more Black people in law. So we start off with that. We go in with that. Black women, Black men.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I would not discourage anybody from going to law school. I would just be very transparent and let you know so you're prepared.
All right. So last but not least, can you provide 3 gems for the people that they could take away from this conversation?
Sure. First gem, think wisely on the decisions that will have a great impact on your life. Please think hard. Like close your bedroom door, think hard. Okay? No music.
No music?
Come on now, you're gonna get.
I mean, that's when I do my best thinking.
Get caught up in the lyrics, like, you think hard about these decisions. And 2, don't be afraid to reach out to people. And on the flip side of that, don't be afraid to provide. If people are genuinely coming from like an honest place of just wanting to learn from you. Not everybody's playing in the same competition or trying to get snake you. It's not always that. It's literally not always that. Especially as somebody whose tone usually gets misinterpreted as rude. So I'm not being rude. I'm just this is my voice. And lastly, don't feel the need to shrink yourself for others' taste. There's nothing wrong with being Black in any predominantly white space. There's nothing wrong with it, or just being you. So there's that.
That's a fact. Be unapologetically yourself, ladies and gentlemen. That's words to live by. Anything else you want to say before we wrap completely?
Don't get a dog in school. There you go.
Why? That's okay. Why?
Cody is a full-time job. I feel like a single mother. I love him. I do love him, y'all. I do. He has an Instagram if you want to follow his shenanigans.
Oh my God. Well, go ahead. Shout out his Instagram. That'd be amazing.
Poster, the pom-pom. Also, just my mom's like, why are you shouting out Cody? Feel free to reach out to me via social media as well if you are interested in applying to law school. I have resources that I provide free of cost. Maybe I should start charging, but I'll think about it. But
shout it out. Shout out your Instagram and everything, or wherever you want people to find you.
Yeah, naturally, Niayla. Don't make fun of me, but it means a lot to me to have that there because it's just me.
All right. Well, y'all heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Niayla, I want to thank you so much for this conversation and providing the insight on what it is to be a law student. You know, we're slowly but surely checking off all of these roles of college. You know, we got professors, you know, we got the student athletes coming soon.
Yeah.
You know, you got the law students, post-grad, kids in school. So we doing our thing. And I am happy that you were a part of it.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks. I'm going to probably take a nap, which is something that we don't often get to do.
All right. So before we get out of here, I just want to say thank you to the HolloTalk podcast listeners and supporters for supporting us through each and every week. Niayla, again, I want to thank you so much for providing me with this conversation and giving me some time to talk to you. And, you know, maybe we'll have you back soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Nick.
All right. Thank you.